Welcome to StonerCast, your official deep dive into Columbus Clingstones baseball. As the AA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves, the Clingstones are building the future of baseball in the A, and we're here to bring you closer to it all. Get the inside look at what makes this team and this community so special. This is StonerCast. Here's your hosts, Rickeya and Dave.
Good afternoon and welcome into StonerCast. We are so glad you guys joined us. We're going to start off right with like, subscribe, and share. That's the only way we're going to get the word out that StonerCast is here and that we are talking Clingstones baseball all through the offseason. And we are gearing up for what we think is going to be a fantastic 2026 season, which will be the debut of our episode of season 2. So you may notice I am wearing pink today. Our background is pink today. A cause very near and dear to my heart as the son of a breast cancer survivor. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And this episode won't actually air until November, but we're going to take this opportunity to encourage you, male and female. If you're male, pass along the message to your mom, your sister, your cousins, your friends. And females, listen up. Early detection saves lives. So make sure you're doing those breast self exams monthly. And, anything out of the ordinary, go to see your doctor. And, early detection does save lives. So until we get a cure, you got to do a little bit of work yourself. So with that being said, man, we've got a great episode planned, Dave. I'm pumped for this one.
I am too, man. I cannot wait.
So today's guest is going to be Clingstones pitching coach Mike Steed. He had one hell of an arsenal of pitchers, if you ask me. We've heard from a few on the podcast. We're going to be hearing from a few more down the road, but I'm really excited to kind of pick his brain and find out a little more about him and, his maybe some insights into some of the guys that he has on his pitching staff. So, without further ado, we'll go ahead and bring our guest up. Please welcome Columbus Clingstones pitching coach Mike Steed to StonerCast.
Welcome, guys.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Man, we're so glad to have you on. You're the first coach that we've had on, so this will be a treat for our listeners. We've had some front office folks.
Hopefully, I set the bar high enough for the other guys.
Oh, absolutely. I think you'll do perfect. So we've had some front office guys. We've had some of the game day staff. We've had players, and now we are tapping into the top level with the managers to, whose job it is to wrangle all those pitchers. And you got some wild cards on that staff for sure.
Yeah. There's I always say I'm fortunate to be around the guys, and there's some characters on that staff. That's for sure.
For sure. So we're just going to jump right into it. Again, thank you for joining us and spending some time to give our audience some insight into your life and career. You've coached and scouted all over North America. What were your first impressions of Columbus when you arrived here? The ballpark, the city, the fan base, and so on.
Again, I was fortunate a lot and thankful to what I've been able to do in my career, and baseball's taken me to a lot of cities and places. Columbus is great. I'm not a huge big city guy, per se. So, never been to Columbus before, not knowing what to suspect, but when we got there, it was welcoming, everything as a baseball coach, just a great city. A lot of stuff to do. I know it's a college town, but coming in there, arriving the first couple times, just kind of walking around, exploring. It's a beautiful little place.
Awesome to hear.
Coach Steed, you grew up in Ontario. What first drew you to baseball as a child, and at what point did you realize that being a coach was your calling?
Growing up in Canada, I think, first of all, when I was 14 and 15, and realized my hockey career wasn't going any farther than playing high school. I was a left-handed pitcher and could hit a little bit, and
Me too.
You know, grew up playing here in Canada, and just loved the game from a young age, and it took me to different levels as a high school player. Allowed me to go to school and experience some more things in college, and I think that was it. Probably right from the start in high school when you're a young kid, I knew that I think baseball was going to take me farther than any sport that I was playing at the time. So really focusing on that as I got through my high school days.
What were some of the challenges that you faced when you were making the transition from a player to a coach?
Well, I guess transition, because I transitioned pretty early. I wasn't a pro guy. I was a college guy that was a good college pitcher, left-handed pitcher. Was able to get some guys out and all that. Just didn't have the stuff to get some pro looks or whatever. So, transitioning, I was very young. So I think I first started coaching when I was 23, turned 24. So the players, were close in age. So I think that probably was the biggest transition for me, is the separation between, myself being a coach and then being as a player.
Very cool.
So baseball has evolved, obviously, over time, but specifically over the last 15 to 20 years, the area of technology and analytics, and then your medical guidance on injuries. And what are some tools that you use in developing the Clingstone staff, or really any staff in the Braves farm system, beyond the radar gun and the tracking sheets?
Sure. It's obviously I've been coaching in the game for 33 years now, and I've seen everything cycle around, and the technologies used now, obviously the analytics that everyone talks about are a big deal. I think what makes the Braves organization, and obviously the Clingstones, they're playing for the Clingstones, but they pitch for the Braves. They're that, and I think it's a combination of the technology and the human element. I think that our staff combines to help guide the players with that. I think our strength and conditioning department is huge in terms of development of pitchers, just in how they move. Yeah, I mean, the TrackMan, the video. I think video is a big tool for any player, whether it's high school to our minor league guys to the big league guys. I think visual learning in my 4 years with the Braves has been probably one of the best tools in developing pitchers, because I just think that's the way the young men are coming up these days. They are the visual learners in all that they do, and I think that's been a huge tool for us.
Yeah, something just kind of going off a little bit, something that I've seen before that I thought was pretty neat, where you can take a pitcher and take, say, 100 of his pitches and layer the video on top of each other, and you can show them where you're making a mistake here because that's where this pitch landed, and this is why it works so well. So try to stay here.
Yeah, so you're right. The overlay technology and just the access that we have, and we're transparent. We give all our guys the info they need, good, bad, and ugly, and that's I think that's why the Braves have been so good at developing young pitchers. It's just that in-depth information that they get, and not that everyone else has that technology too, but I just think the way our guys take it and use it, and you can have all the technology in the world, but I think our success too goes to the people that we're working with, the players.
I wish they had that technology when I played.
Yeah, it's a little different than back when I pitched in the late 80s and the early 90s. It's changed a whole bunch, other than we didn't have video cameras. We still had VCRs back in that day. And,
absolutely, yeah.
Play our long touch, throw our pens, and then go run 25 poles.
Coach, you've moved up through multiple levels of the Braves organization with stints in Augusta, Rome, and now Columbus. And I'm sure you've seen some of the same pitchers at the different stops. What are a couple improvements you feel you regularly see in the pitching as they grow through the levels? And what are a couple of areas you seem to see more often than others that still need some work?
Again, fortunate to see 3 different levels so far in Augusta, Rome, and Columbus now at Double A, as you said. And I think that's the great part, because I have had, a handful of guys, in the 4 years going up, that I think that's the biggest thing. What I've noticed is, and I don't want to downplay this, but, I think baseball's baseball. On the physical side of it, yeah, we have all these tools and do whatever. And all the pitchers that I've experienced come through, they're good pitchers. They're really good pitchers. And I think being able to be around a handful of them for my time, it's just been able to develop that relationship, with them. And I kind of pride myself on, trying to develop good relationships for guys that, just knowing their personalities, just building some trust with them, that they can come and talk to me about, their career moving forward, what they have to do, what the Braves want them to do, trusting, that, I'm going to be honest with them. And I think that goes a long way in moving guys forward. The other thing moving up is they just mature. I hate to, again, minimize it, but they just get older. Mentally they get more mature, physically they get more mature as they grow up, which makes them become, more quality pitchers and arms. And I think they understand situations. I think one thing not to improve, but I think you look at a single A player in Augusta compared to a double A player in Columbus, take aside maybe they're a little older, a little more mature, they've developed routines, and they've found some routines in their day-to-day operation that's getting them closer to the big leagues or getting them successful. And I think that's the thing that, young pitchers just got to keep hammering out, keep doing. It's going to change too, until you find something that works for you, that gets you to that big league level. That's going to get you through, 162 game regular season, but everyone wants to pitch into November and win a World Series. So just finding that routine that's going to allow you to pitch all the way through the end of October into November, hopefully.
So when a pitcher struggles, and we just had Lucas on, we interviewed him earlier this week. His episode will air here soon. One of his questions was the first half of the season, him giving up the long ball. He was pitching great, but it seemed like, it almost seemed like every start he gave up a long ball to somebody. And for a guy like him that's uber competitive and, wants to dominate, giving up a long ball is kind of, soul crushing in some moments.
Sure.
When they're struggling and you make a mound visit, or even if it's an off day and you're just working with them in the facility, what's your approach to help them reset and to get their, everybody knows pitching is mental. A lot of it is mental.
Sure.
How do you help them reset mentally? To keep the past in the past and just keep looking forward.
Sure. I think every pitcher is different. We may have anywhere from 13 to 16 guys on the pitching staff at one time, maybe 17 at some of the lower levels. And, each one of them are different. I always kid with my wife and friends, and I said, I should have got a psych degree, from school or whatever, because I think that would have went a long way to being a pitching coach. Your question and using Lucas as an example, Lucas is very competitive. He's very hard. One of the, you look at these guys, proud of him this year in terms of his maturation process, about how he dealt with negative situations or failure like that. And sometimes giving up a home run, it's not failure. I think what Lucas did was, Lucas's thing was he's a strike thrower. He can throw a lot of pitches in the strike zone, and guys get aggressive on him. When they're facing him, I always tell hitters have as many scouting reports on us as the pitchers do on the hitters. So I think that was a big thing. We talk about it the next day. I'd say 90% of the time, adjustments like that, they're one-offs. Okay, hey, let's go over the video. Look at this. Yeah, I could have hit that pitch out, Lucas. You could have hit that pitch out where you threw it. So I think it's just sometimes it's a mistake. And I think we adjust from there. We might go to the bullpen and, one focus would be what count did the guy hit it out on? Was it an advantage count for you, finish count where you can put him away? And we kind of go from there. I think an approach I've had is I try not to make guys dwell on the negative. I'm as much as I don't smile a lot during games or whatever, I kind of like to focus on the positive. I like to really focus on what guys do well, and getting back and kind of hide a negative or hide at something that, that maybe didn't go their way in a game, but still work on it. But just, make them feel good about some progress from a failure is my biggest approach with guys that way. Hopefully,
and it's funny.
Question.
It's funny during our questions with him. I said, you gave up 19 home runs in the first half. And he's like, I'm glad it wasn't 20. So
yeah,
like, you know what? That's the perfect outlook to have.
Yeah, no, that's it. And that's not saying, we're never, these guys or myself, you don't take that stuff serious or whatever. But, when these guys go to the ballpark for as many days in a row as they do, you guys have been around the game for a long time. I mean, one, this game can humble you quickly. And two, it can wear you down quickly too. So, like I said in the start, these guys are all physically talented, like they really are. That mental strength and, mental preparation and stuff. I think that's what separates guys from truly getting to the big leagues.
Yeah. I want to pick up on what Ricky just said about how he gave up 19 the first half of the season, but the second half, you could tell, just watching him on the mound, that he made some major adjustments. He only gave up, what was it, 4, Ricky?
In the second half.
Yeah.
So,
and none over that.
And I love the little adjustment he made where he bent over and hid the ball a little bit better.
That was his, he came to me one day and he was like, Steeder, what do you think of, I'm thinking about this. And because he used to be a really high, long set guy, if you guys remember that. And he went to there and it was more so, he said, this is what I think. I think I can just come set better and it's going to just get me in a position earlier with the pitch clock and all that. And it's going to allow me to do some things, and still not feel rushed. So, all that, whether that was part of it, probably not. It was a little part of it because I think it made him feel comfortable and confident.
Right.
With his delivery and what he was trying to do. And, when it comes down to
the whole cycle,
Yeah, definitely. And let's face it, he's we've saying, let's race to 2 strikes and then execute from there. And, for the second half, as you said, Ricky, like it was 4 home runs or whatever he gave up. He just executed better, was his stuff any better? Probably not. He was really consistent stuff-wise throughout the year, which was great. And I think he executed better. And, that just says a lot about Lucas, and the professional that he is and the want to continue to move forward. And I'm glad he got that opportunity at the end going to pitching Gwinnett.
Wow.
That's what's so crazy about his stat line and the splits between first half and second half is he was up near the top in strikeouts, in number of hits, but home runs, just like read all the way across the stat line. You're like, whoa, you didn't expect to see that. So it was really cool to see him clean that up in the second half and just really be dominant.
Yeah, he was
from July on. So, as the pitching coach, you don't just work with the starters. Obviously, the bullpen are your guys too. What's the difference in your approach to working with, say, a starter who is expected to go 4, 6, 7 innings versus maybe a long middle relief guy, and then maybe a closer who only has to really be called on for 1 inning per game? And I know at minor league level it's a little different We've got Landon Harper coming up, and he made 12 starts and 14 relief.
Harp's a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah,
that's what Harp is. What's that?
I said he's good.
He is.
Really
I think the different approaches, and you're right. At the minor league level, there's no roles technically. I mean, these guys are all trying to develop to be big league pitchers in the bullpen, and I think the biggest difference and one of the biggest things that I try to stress to bullpen guys, relief pitchers is, you have to find a way to be available every day, and when we don't use guys every day in lower level minor leagues, but as they move up, it's find a way to be available back-to-back days, or 4 out of 6 days a week, 5 out of 7 days a week. So I think that's one thing. Just kind of monitoring that. Obviously, a relief pitcher can go 3 or 4 days without getting into a game. So it's just finding, again, I use routine a lot. Before games, how much time are they off the mound? How much work are they doing pregame on the mound, and what intent? So that we may do a little bit in the afternoon, but you're still available to pitch, in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning that evening. So I think that's the biggest difference where, our starters, obviously nothing's easy in the game, but you're on that schedule where your week is pretty much the same. It's when your side session's going to be, when your start date's going to be, so you can really plan that, throwing program, stretching program, lifting program, to know you want to go, 5, 6, 7 innings every, in the big leagues every 5 days. With our guys, it's, usually every 6 days. So I think that's my biggest message to relievers is just let's find a way to be available and successful every day.
Coach, you played through college before you began your coaching career, as you said earlier. Who were your biggest influences as a player, be it coaches, teammates, or professional players you were a fan of?
I mean, I think, obviously from a, young player, obviously I was your family growing up, my parents, my dad, supported me and he was he was a hockey guy, obviously growing up here in Canada and all that. But I had one coach from the time I was 10 years old, maybe younger than that, 8 years old, and the time I was 18, done high school, and he coached us in travel ball all the way through. His name was Bruce Evans. His son was, one of my best friends who ended up playing pro ball, but, we had the same group of guys. So, I can give that small group growing up until high school some credit going forward. Obviously, if I look to players in the that I looked up to or whatever, growing up so close to Toronto and fortunate to be around the Blue Jays as a kid growing up. I mean, you guys might remember Jimmy Key, left-hander, Ware 22. I wore 22 in college because of Jimmy Key. If you look at my delivery when I was in college, tried to mirror Jimmy Key with that. So, you look at guys like that, knew who he wasn't a hard throwing lefty. I wasn't a hard throwing lefty. So that, and then once I kind of got moving forward, there were some scouts here in Canada, Ron Cabot. This is, again, you guys remember, this is back in the 80s, when I was in high school and, mid to late 80s. And, he was a scout with the Blue Jays. There was a gentleman named Andy Lawrence. Was a scout with the New York Mets up here. So, they would do some stuff with a select number of guys. So guys like that were influential in getting me to go. And then obviously when I got to college, there was a pitching coach named Jim Stevenson, who's actually a pretty high-level scout with the Astros now. He got me to the States, and I have a lot of credit to him for helping me get there. And then, I mean, we still talk to this day, just about the game and what's going on. So, short list, but a close list.
I remember the Jays had some good players back then. Old Joe Carter.
Yeah, they had some players coming up that Jesse Barfield, George Bell, back when they first started, all the way through the Joe Carter days and the World Series in the early 90s. They had some good players.
Mm-hmm. They've got some good players right now. I'm hoping the Braves are knocking on Bo Bichette's door this year.
Yeah, they brought some buzz back to the country, and obviously I'm a Brave through and through, and wish we were in the World Series this year, but seeing what the Jays have done and what they do for Baseball Canada, if the Jays go well, then I find that our country, the game just continues to move forward for the young players and grassroots players. So that's an exciting thing. And you're right, they do. They've got some exciting young players. So it's been fun to watch them go through the playoffs, being a Canadian guy.
So over your entire career in coaching, has there been a moment that really stands out to you with a pitcher where something changed that you helped facilitate that's kind of, a breakthrough moment?
That's a tough question. As I always kid around, it's people say, you know a lot of guys. And I'm like, it's because I'm old. I've been around a long time, and that's all that is. I've been fortunate to work with, through the amateur level, obviously here in Canada, and then coaching in the college summer leagues, and then, obviously with the Braves. I don't know if there's I hate to dance around the question or to put it off, Ricky, but I don't know if there's one moment, it's when I was working with the high school guys back before, we had like a Zach Pop who ended up pitching in the big leagues, and he went to Kentucky, and, seeing him in high school just, grow in, like watching a kid mature and grow into his body and then become a Canadian kid, obviously in the North, we're Northern, get a chance to get to a big school in the SEC or, even in summer ball, AJ Schugel, who pitched in the big leagues for the Pirates for a little bit. He pitched a summer for me, and, just watching him kind of figure out that, he was, a bullpen guy, and even over the 2 months he was with me, when, watching him go out and just, see themselves start to realize, sincerely, hey, I think I might be a big leaguer, type of deal. And then, even since I've been with the Braves, it's been fun to watch, guys, like Swellenbach, wasn't around him a long time or whatever, but just kind of watch him turn the corner and become the guy he is now.
I think JR is a good example from this season.
Yeah. I mean, JR, and again, being fortunate enough to that year, JR, Owen, and Cedric got drafted. They finished the year in Augusta with us, for the 3 starts, and then watching JR come through everything, and the surgery and the rehab, and then watching him this year, just continue to go up, and with the person he is. But yeah, that's one it puts a smile on my face all the time when I see guys, move up levels, and continue to move forward.
You dropped one name that I am curious about, Owen Murphy.
Yeah.
You think we see him in Columbus next year?
I mean, I would think so. Obviously that's, decisions above, who I am or whatever, but I think how he came back and performed after the time off or whatever in Rome. Yeah, definitely. I think there's opportunity. He's, again, he's a strong kid. He's healthy now. Another really, when I talk about him and JR, both mature, it sounds like me being the old guy on the front porch, but mature beyond their years, when you talk to them and just how they go about things. And they're good people first. So yeah, I definitely think Murph's going to get a chance, and he'll see Columbus for sure.
Man, I cannot wait.
I had a chance to meet JR prior to a game at Birmingham. I live in Bell City, Alabama, so I came to 3 games when y'all came over to Birmingham, and I had an opportunity to speak with him, and his maturity really stood out. And I will say this: I'm not sure that even JR knew he could still throw 97 until he got to that futures. and he flew that 97-mile-an-hour high fastball past.
Yeah.
I think it was Jesus Made. He struck him out.
Yeah, I think so. That's, you know what, that's
flung that thing.
He definitely can throw it. There's stuff there. You know, I think I can only imagine, you know, we talked, you know, briefly after that because he went up to Gwinnett following that. But, you know, I think the adrenaline, I think the lights came on, you know, and I think it's, you know, it's great to see because then, you know, I think there's always in the back of your mind when you come back from injury, you know, hey, is it there? Is it healthy? Is it whatever? And I think it takes that aha moment or one moment, you know, where you just let it go, get the ball back, and you realize your elbow is still intact. And then, you know, away you go. So, yeah, that was great to see.
Really Man, he pitched that inning like he didn't want to come back to Columbus.
That's it. Yeah, no, I always tell him it's a good thing. I say, I hate to see you guys leave, but I'm smiling as you're walking out the door.
Absolutely. Right. That's what I like. I want to see him grow and get up there too. Coach, what has been your proudest moment as a coach through your time with the Braves organization and even your time with the Ontario Blue Jays and the Thunder Bay Border Cats? Yeah. Out of all that time coaching, what has been the one moment that has stood out to you the most? And it can be anybody. It doesn't have to be somebody from Columbus. Just something that stood out to you as the coach.
Again, you know, like I said, you asked me about players and stuff that's been a proudest moment. You know, fortunate to coach a lot of really good players and be around a lot of, you know, really good people with organizations and, you know, like the Blue Jays or the, you know, the Border Cats and obviously with the Braves. I mean, I don't know. It's from the pro side. I mean, winning the first half and, you know, when you talk about minor league baseball, but winning the first half in Rome, you know, was pretty neat from a team standpoint. I mean, I get excited just when I see guys move up or, you know, when we hear about guys coming up, you know, to Columbus this year, Rome last year, you know, Augusta from the complex. And I enjoy that. I see them. I'm 55 and, you know, whatever, been around and to see them get excited, you know, going through there. And it's the same. It's all taken in context, right? With the Ontario Blue Jays and working with high school guys. And again, fortunate that, you know, I was able to work with some really good athletes there and just watching, you know, when they commit or they get drafted, you know, and just watching how excited they are, you know, and when they're that young, I don't think they realize how much work ahead they have, you know, but they're excited to do that. So I would say just anytime I see a player, you know, move forward in his career, I think that's what excites, and those have been the best times, you know, in my career.
I'm sure Landon almost getting that no-hitter is up there too.
It was, yeah,
close. Golly, he pitched such a good game that day.
He did, you know, Harp, you know, and I'm glad for Harp, you know, because he does deserve it, and you know, he's I called him a Swiss Army knife, but the only reason that is he started this year. He was a mid reliever. You know, he could probably come in and close a game if you needed him to, stuff aside. But yeah, he was that was a pretty special night. He was pretty good that night.
Yeah, it had to have been pretty special for you as a Double-A pitching coach. I mean, you saw two guys hit the major leagues this year, and then you saw several call-ups. I personally, and we'll bring this up in our interview with Landon later, that the discussions I had with other fans, you know, who's going to be the next call-up. I said Landon, it seemed like all year long.
Sure.
I felt like he was doing all that he could.
Yep.
But then, you know, when it, like you said earlier, when it comes to the major league club making those decisions, they've got to see something exact that they're looking for. So
yeah, I agree. And he'll, you know, it's again, you talked about how I, you know, deal with certain guys, and that was an ongoing convo with Harp, and it's, you know, had it with some other guys that, you know, that's out of your control. You know, you just go out there and you keep, you know, I think each one of our guys knows what the organization wants from them and needs from them, and to continue going forward. And that's all I could stress with Harp. That, hey, just keep doing that, man. We know that. I look at your numbers. I look at your lines. They're great. You know that. You see everything. I said, so just day in and day out, go out and just keep doing that. And, his time will come. I believe that, again, whether it's with the Braves or someone else, if he keeps moving forward, he's showed a lot this year in terms of compete.
All right, we're down to our last question for the main portion of our interview before we move into fan questions and then finally our lightning round. Coach, what's your favorite moment from Synovus Park this season? Maybe it was a great outing by one of your guys, a big strikeout, or just a really special night at Synovus Park.
I think it was, obviously, getting away from the side. The opening night, the first night, obviously coming back to affiliate pro baseball in Columbus was exciting. I mean, the crowd, obviously the stadium there, it's a Cadillac, so that was a really, really, I think, exciting night for me. There were a lot of, I'd say, obviously, Harp's Day coming close to the perfect game, no hitter, all that stuff was great. We had some big nights, even as small as, guys with 8+ strikeout nights, like Harp, like, Bronny. I don't know. Again, I don't think there's one that stands out for me in particular. And there probably is. There are probably great nights. I think you said it best. Like we had some really good arms come through Columbus this year or stay in Columbus, and whether good results, bad results, in a minor league schedule. I think each night a guy went out. I think there was, if you were a fan in the stands, there was a possibility of seeing a future big leaguer, on the mound, with like the Hayden Harrises and obviously Mooney. And,
hey, we got to mention Brett Sears too, I think, man. Brett, he's got an incredible pitch mix and he's got confidence to go with it, man.
Which is really good to see. Sears, I didn't know him before this year and really hadn't met him until he came, he came to Columbus because we just didn't cross paths during spring or whatever. And
he's a big guy. He's a big guy, but he doesn't look very imposing on the mound. But he's got some pitches that are really nasty.
He's a competitor. He's intense, which is off the field. I mean, he's quiet. He's not a loud guy. He's a great teammate and good in the clubhouse. But I tell you what, when he's got the baseball and he's going in and out, inning to inning, he's focused and he's definitely got a competitor side to him that I love. And you're right, his stuff, his arsenal is really good. Again, work habits are fantastic. So yeah, it's, again, I don't want to, blow these guys up too much, or, I'll deny that I said, too much good about them, but, they're good guys, they're good people. So they're, it was easy to work with this year's staff for sure. We've done,
including your episode, we've done 10 recordings so far. And Dave and I have talked several times about our interview with Brett. It was just he's a great interview. And, cut and dry, you get exactly what you asked for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So he even threw a pitch out to Realtree. He wants to be a model for him.
Yeah.
An influencer. So,
He said, get the word out.
There you go.
Well, Coach, from a fan's perspective, my last question about the favorite moment.
Sure.
There are so many from this season. We've all, I can't even pinpoint, a favorite theme night or a favorite game because there were so many memories made. Maybe that's just what comes along with an inaugural season. Maybe next season I'll be able to pick out the day that it just, could never be beat. But this past season, every time you walk through the gates of the ballpark, like you said, you may have been watching a guy that would be playing in Atlanta the next day. you know, all the way down to the theme nights, the Gold Glove Charities night, which was super, super,
yes,
enormously like impactful day for a lot of people. So, and thank you for your role that you had in putting the product on the field that we were able to enjoy for 69 home games in that crazy heat. I know being you probably aren't really built for that heat and humidity.
Well, yeah, no, that was, I mean, I'll take the heat over the cold any day, but some of those Sunday afternoon 1 o'clock starts in June and July. Yeah, those.
I was gonna say, especially Brett. He caught Sunday every week.
Yeah, that
he was the Sunday guy.
But between Searsy and that kind of running joke, and then Bronny, and if it was Bronny's start day, I guarantee there was probably a 60% chance of rain. That day,
I know, man.
He caught so many delays and pushes that we just kind of it became comical and funny, where guys check in and be like, "Hey, we on time? Everything on time?" But it was more like we'd look for each other and like be like, "Hey, we're good right now, but let's just wait 15 minutes to see what the clouds do."
Yeah,
well, you see all these behind me. These I collected Lucas's jerseys all year. So the only one I don't have is Star Wars. Star Wars was a big night for him.
He wanted that one. He also made that clear that he was making sure he got that jersey, and he was pretty jacked to pitch on that night.
Yeah, and we had some issues that night. Yes, weather. He didn't know if he was going to actually get to start in it, and luckily everything was able to be shuffled around to get it to where he was able to wear that jersey and hit the mound. So I think that was one of his better games all season too.
So. I think so.
Yeah, that's something I talked to Brett about too on Sundays was, the heat and the humidity on those really hot days. That can help some of those pitches. It can help that slider move a little heavier, fall out of the zone a little harder, a curve, and me, I pitched for 3 years, and something like that, I think I would look forward to it, man, because I would know it's gonna.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely, you stay loose, you get loose, and I think it's an incentive to execute your pitches so you can get off the mound as quick as possible. Get back in the dugout until so you're not staying out there too long. But yeah, no, he did a great job, for those the elements for sure.
Yeah. All right, we're going to move to fan submitted questions, Coach Steed, and this first one comes from Corey Wilkins, submitted via email, and our email is stonercastshow@gmail.com.
The stonercastshow.
I'm sorry, thestonercastshow@gmail.com. And she says, Coach Steed, how difficult is it to navigate a constantly rotating pitching rotation with call-ups being a factor at the minor league level?
It's to be honest with you, it's really not that hard. Obviously through our coordinators, our pitching coordinators above that help schedule stuff out, and usually if a starter, for one, if he gets called up, it's usually to a point where we have a hole in our rotation. So that pitcher coming up or coming down, whatever it may be, they just slide right in there, and they're on calendar. So, from Augusta to Gwinnett, for the most part, starting rotations, kind of they move simultaneously and together to where, they're usually running a 6-man rotation, sometimes a 5, but it's really, to be honest with you, not that hard. I know it happened a couple times where it didn't, and I don't know the exact answer, but if that's the case, then, we were fortunate enough. Our starters this year in Columbus, no matter who it was, they went pretty deep in games for the most part. So, if we had to run a bullpen day where we had to use 4 or 5 bullpen arms to get through a night, we could do that. But for the most part, the caller's question, it wasn't that tough a transition.
Okay. From Eric Murdog Murray, who has the Murdog Eats page. I encourage anybody that's watching that hasn't followed that page to go follow his page, as he reviews food at the stadium and other places. But he submitted his question via the Stoners Facebook group. How much time during a typical week do you spend with each pitcher?
Individually, I think it varies. I would say I spend more time with the starters. Obviously, they have, preset, side days, and going through at the start of each week. We'll have a group meeting. Going over that week's team we're playing, the scouting reports, bullpen guys. I try to talk to each of them daily, to be honest with you. It might not always be about X's and O's or anything like that, but just how they're feeling, what they're doing, everything good off the field. With the starters, I'll have obviously game day, where we'll have a pregame meeting with our pitcher catchers. Obviously, the pregame throw in the bullpens, their side during the week. I'll spend their bullpen with them. The bullpen guys, I would say it's probably an hour or two, individually with each guy, all running together. But, the majority of the bullpen pitchers, a lot of them would, touch the mound before games every day or every other day. So when they're down there throwing their 8 or 10 pitches, get a chance to sit there and talk to them. And then, we had an older group, which is good this year. So, when you talk about, they were very accountable to themselves as well as each other. I think time-wise, it would be 15 minutes here and there, just pulling some video or giving them some numbers, going over that. So, it's kind of tough to dwindle down a number because it feels like I'm interacting with them kind of each day.
Yeah. And we got one more from Carter Nelson via the Stonercast Facebook page, which is, I love this question because I'm curious myself. Why do you think the knuckleball has basically disappeared from today's game?
Obviously, I think a knuckleball is a different kind of arm path, arm swing, arm action to get the best out of it. Yeah. I always kid around, you start throwing knuckleball as a career saver, to keep you in the game. But yeah, it's a tough pitch to throw. It really is to throw a true knuckleball.
Yeah.
Very tough. But I do think it's different than how a power pitcher might throw his fastball compared to how he would throw a knuckleball. So I would say that's, in my mind, that's the main reason.
All right. Well, it's now time for our lightning round. It's something that we've kind of prided ourselves on having.
I've been seeing that, yeah,
on our episodes, and we've got some good ones for you. None that are going to make you cry. Some that's going to make you laugh. As a proud Canadian, Coach Steed, who has a better breakfast, Tim Hortons or Waffle House?
It's Tim Hortons, absolutely.
So you've never had a cheesesteak omelet from Waffle House, huh?
I've had many Waffle House breakfasts, but you know what? I got to go with the Tim Hortons, large black coffee and just a simple egg on a bagel.
Did you visit our Tim Hortons here in Columbus?
I did. Went a couple times. I did. The employees had no idea what I was talking about when I was mentioning the stuff back in Canada. So I think they need to do a little more brand research.
All right. What's one thing that separates great from good pitchers?
So long memory and short memory.
Good answers. Which Clingstones player pitcher would make the best coach after their playing days are over?
If you ask them, they'd probably say all of them because it's like they know everything. Best coach. I think Richie would be a good coach. I think he's I know it's a lightning round, but I think he's just his attention to detail, is really, really strong. And the other one I think will be Harp, Landon Harper. And that's just from, he's going to go get it. He's going to be able to motivate some guys. And I think his, infectious personality and just that fire, I think would make him a really good coach.
All right. Which Clingstones pitcher would you hand the ball to in a Game 7 must-win situation?
Ooh, as a starter? Obviously, as a starter. From this year?
Any of the guys that were called up?
Sure. You know what, Team Mejia? Out of all the guys, and there's a lot of them, but, I think if it came right down to it and I need some guy to go out and win a game, I think it'd be Ian Mejia.
We've had so many good pitchers, but I think with Ian, his consistency just stands out. You can count on when he takes the mound, he's going to go pitch a good game. Maybe one time I think he gave up a few runs early that I can remember, but other than that, he was pretty shut down.
Yeah. You know what? There's guys with better stuff. But in terms, you said it, consistency, but just the he's, again, been fortunate to be around him for almost 3 years now. And I think I can count on one hand, and I might only need one finger, the amount of times I've seen him rattled. Or just the poise he has, and that goes back to the maturity, and just the want and will to figure out a way to compete and win a ball game.
Yeah, he doesn't throw that hard, and he throws hard, but he doesn't throw 94 mile, 95 mile an hour fastball.
Not consistently. Yep.
Yeah, he's 90, 92 guy, and there's so many parallels to him with Greg Maddux to me that, and it's his poise, like you said, I think really then the confidence and not getting rattled, falling behind an account. And I can't tell you how many times I saw him fall behind 2-0 and strike somebody out. He just
absolutely. And they all do, and they all want the ball, and but it's that's the one guy I think that I would pencil in to win.
I had a high school coach who would say that Ian's got that dog in him.
Yeah. Yes, he does.
What he always used to say, you got to have that dog in you.
I've met him a few times. Matter of fact, the first time I met him, I got an autograph from him, and he was walking by, and I just kind of waved him down. I didn't know his name at the time. I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And he kind of smiled way back, and I showed him the ball. I said, "Can I get an autograph from you?" And he stopped, and he looked at me and grinned ear to ear, and walked right over there and signed the ball for me. And I was like, "Wow."
Yeah.
I think he was honored that somebody asked him for an autograph. That's cool.
Yeah, that's what I said. He's one of the guys, and most of them are like that. His off-field personality is different than when he toes that rubber, which I think is awesome.
I had the same situation happen with Kevin Kilpatrick. He was walking by. Yeah, and he just smiled ear to ear when I asked him if I could get his autograph. I was like, wow, this is cool.
All right, Coach. Who's the pitcher most likely to make you laugh when you walk out for a mound conference during a game?
Bronny. Yeah, I'd say Bronny. He's I'll just leave it at that. Just because he's neurotic at times, and like I said, I was proud of him and how, he matured or whatever, but yeah, he would make me laugh just with some of his actions or mound presence or, whatever with that, or just something he'd say.
Yeah. I can definitely see it.
Yeah.
So which Southern League team has the best uniform combination?
Oh, it's obviously the Clingstones with the all peach.
There you go. That's what I wanted to hear. we've asked about the peach on peach combination in a few interviews, so I was like, all right, don't bring up peach on peach. Let's see if we can get him to say it. So.
Yeah, no, I will for sure. Being around the league one time, and even knowing some of the guys in the other orgs, they were like, they were kidding around about it. But yeah, rocking the peach on peach Friday nights has to be the best.
They look surprisingly good.
I'm not gonna lie. When I first heard about them, I thought that's going to be the ugliest uniform ever. And when I first saw them, I was like, I can't believe how good they look.
They grew on me. I will say that. Yeah.
And you rocked it with some like Air Force Ones, right? Some like.
I'm an Adidas guy.
Okay.
So I had some green and white Adidas to.
That's what it was.
With the accent colors, yeah, absolutely. But I had to do something when I first saw them.
This has been a great episode. Thank you so much for spending some time and giving our audience a little insight into kind of what's going on in the dugout with pitching coaches and managers. And, it's a side that, like I said, we've not seen yet. So you were able to be the first. And we're hopefully going to get Gab on soon if he'll ever check his Instagram messages.
Yeah, no kidding. You got to do that. If you guys have any trouble, tell me. I'll text him. He might text me back in the off season.
Yeah, and again, it seems the more we record and release that guys are starting to see some of the episodes, and we've had some great luck. We've got JR scheduled for an interview here soon, which I think is going to be a great episode. We've got Landon. We're actually interviewing him later tonight. So talking to you first, it's going to load us up a little bit for his interview.
Yeah, well, that's good. I appreciate you guys asking. And as I said, I had a great time in Columbus, and it does. Talking about working with Gab, we've done it 2 years now, and it was just, that was a big part of it. The staff we had, and then obviously the community of Columbus. So yeah, I do appreciate you guys asking me to come on.
Well,
hopefully I gave you some insight.
A lot like players, we hope to see you back, but we don't hope to see you back. This is the farm system's about managers too. You guys are looking for the promotion too, and to maybe make it one day with the big league club. So,
sure.
And hey, I'd love to see it. We're about to have some new management in Atlanta, so we'll see. You never know.
Yeah. We'll wait and see for that for sure.
So, all right, Coach. Well, we appreciate you, and we will talk again soon. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Great. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Coach, thank you very much. We appreciate you, sir.
There it is, guys. Straight from Coach Mike Steed, letting you know about his staff, some of the guys that he had the pleasure of working with over the last few years, and specifically this year in Columbus. And great insight for you guys, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Again, like, subscribe, and share. Look down there, mash those buttons. That helps us more than you'll ever know. It gets our metrics up, gets our numbers up, gets our episodes up in front of more eyes. Like we've said before, we don't want to be just centered around Columbus. We want all of Braves country watching and learning and getting to know who these guys are, whether it be coaches or players or even front office staff that may one day be with the big league club. So
that's right.
As always, Dave, thanks, man. You came with great questions for our guest, and I couldn't do this without you. So thank you so much for being here all the way from Pell City, Alabama.
That's right.
And we'll end today like we end every episode. Go Stones.
Go Stones.
Thanks for tuning in to StonerCast, your inside look into Columbus Clingstones baseball. Please like, subscribe, and share to stay connected as we bring you closer to the Stones.